Hello, you're in the kitchen with Donna tonight, and tonight I'll be sharing with you how I make the passion fruit jelly. The jelly that I make from the passion fruits that I grow here on our little property. I harvested them today. This is in August, about the second week in August. And passion fruits actually bloom, these passion fruits bloom generally from July to November. Now there's over 500 varieties of passion fruits. If you were to Google them and look and find out about them, you would just see the variety there are. What I have here is a common passion flower vine, and it's called Passiflora incarnata. Some people call them maypops around here. They're native to America. Cherokee natives made a drink from it, and they drank it socially. Growing up, we ate them just like out of the field when they were yellow like this. When we found them, we would open them up. And they're nicknamed maypops because when you step on them, they make a popping noise. Now the part that's eaten from this fruit is this little middle part. Many people make jelly with this inner part, and they eat the seeds too. I don't eat the seeds. I don't like the texture of them. And that's just a personal thing, but if you like it, you can sure feel free to try them with the seeds, but I always take them out of the seeds. What I mean by that is I always take the seeds out of the center, and then after I make my juice in my pot, I'll you hear that pop? That's why they call them maypops. If you step on them, that's what you hear. But I'm going to take the middle out. That's what I make the juice from. That makes the jelly. Now some people eat this outer part. They boil it until the peeling comes off, and then they use the inside of that to go in a passion flower jam, but I'll just be making the jelly today. As you can see, it's kind of like maybe a pomegranate, and that the most of the fruit is there around the seed. I'll try to get you as good a view of that as I can. But here's the seeds, and if you put these in your mouth when they're a golden yellowish color, they have a really sweet taste to them. They say the easy way to tell if your maypops are ripe or not is that you should find them on the ground. They'll fall off when they get ripe. If you pluck them before they're ripe, they don't ripen anymore. They'll just stay at the same stage. This one right here is perfect. You can see all that good juicy fruit that's around that seed. And it's delicious. I had to eat one. And when they're good and golden and ripe, they get sweeter. They're a little more tart when they're greener. But I'm just going to go ahead and take the middles out of all of these passion fruit that I have here, and I'll see how many cups of fruit I have, and that'll judge how much sugar we use. Now these vines, if you want to grow them, they really take a lot of room. I have mine in the middle flower bed here. If you've watched any of my videos, and I've shared my front garden on those videos, then you'll see that thing. It's front and center, and it takes a lot of work for me to keep it cut back. And Donald and I have decided we're going to move that passion flower to the backyard this year, next year, and we're going to have a proper trellis for it to grow up. So you're going to need something hardy, because this plant takes a lot of room to grow it. I just have been letting them just grow wherever they want to in my garden, because the flower is so beautiful. That purple flower is just beautiful. But next year I'm going to corral it a little bit, because it's smothering out some of my other plants. And as beautiful as it is, and as much as I love it, I still do want to grow other things. So, now to see, this one looks a little too ripe. And then some of them don't have very many seeds in them. And that's like anything else. You know, if it's too dry or too wet, the conditions are not right, then they don't turn out ideal. This one looks good. We always call these maypops, but I've heard that some people in Appalachia call them wild apricots. And why they would call them that, I don't know, because an apricot is in like a peach family. It has a pit. It is more like a pomegranate than it is any other fruit, if I had to compare it to a fruit. I would compare it to a pomegranate. We grew up eating these, and some people we knew call them maypops, but we always called them passion fruits. And it was a treat to find them growing. It really was. They were sweet and unexpected, you know, very unique flavor. So it was always a real treat to find these passion fruits growing. Of course, we grew up eating many foraged plants, so it was nothing unusual for us to eat the plants that we knew what they were growing up. We ate mulberries, grapes, muscadines, wild grapes. We ate cherries. Apples. We loved apples. And there was just an abundance of apple trees, peach trees, plantain, blackberries, raspberries. Just grew up eating many, many foraged foods. Of course, my mother and her family, they growing up foraged food. She said that when the young blackberries would come in, her mom would take a big bowl and go and cut the tops out of the blackberry, the new growth, the fresh green growth off of the blackberry vines. And they would eat those. She would take them back and cook them like greens. Now there are two kinds of passion fruit that are grown commercially, and this is one of them. And they are added to fruit juice. And they're just listed as a natural ingredient, a natural flavoring. So they might not tell you that there's passion flower in there. They'll just list it on the ingredient list as natural flavorings. So there's a lot of juice in here, a lot of juice in these little bits of fruit that's around these seeds. Now, if you open up your fruit and you see anything undesirable in there, then you know not to use that one. This one looked like it was already starting to go bad, so I didn't use anything out of that one. There are some people that use the peelings for this part of the outer shell for jam, but I'll not be doing that today. I'm using just the fruit that'll be around the seeds. There are some people that leave the seeds in too, but I won't be doing that today. I'll be straining the seeds out of this juice. So it looks like we have about 3 cups. It looks like about 3 cups of fruit, which that's not going to matter a whole lot because we're actually going to use our juice to make our jelly. So we'll be measuring our juice as opposed to our fruit because we'll be straining out some of these seeds. But I just like to know how many cups of fruit that I get from one of those little baskets of passion flowers. So I've put my seeds down in here, and I'm going to cover them with water. Now I'm going to add about 6 tablespoons of lemon juice to this. I've got my seeds with the pulp around it in a pot covered with water, and I've brought it to a boil. And now I'm going to add about 6 tablespoons of lemon juice, bottled lemon juice. This fruit actually does have a lot of pectin in it, and it has a lot of acid. But I just always go ahead and add acid to something that I'm not sure how much is in it. Alright, so that's about 6 tablespoons of lemon juice added to this. Now I'm going to be washing some jars and getting them ready. You know, I hold my jars in a 220-degree oven. Sometimes 225 degrees. I have pint-sized jars. That's what I'll be canning most of these in today. You know, the passion fruit jelly is, it's a real treat. It's a real, not a common jelly that you find a lot. So it's great to give as gifts, to give to people that love unique and delicious food gifts, that like to eat something different. I have given them as gifts. They have, you know, kind of a unique flavor to them. I've got 2 pint jars in here in case I have a whole lot of juice. I'll have jars to put them in. I've already got my lids washed. I remember back in the day when you had to keep those lids with the rubber seal in them in your rings, you had to keep them in boiling water. You had to keep everything sterilized at every stage. But now you just, you don't have to keep them in hot water. Well, I'm going to rinse these jars and get them in the oven. Okay, I've got my jars in the oven. They're heating up. I'm going to go ahead and take this juice that I have boiled the seeds and the middle, the pulp of this passion flower here, passion fruit. I've boiled the seeds and the pulp after covering them with water, and I've added 6 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now, some people leave these seeds in and they treat them like a delicacy. They have a crunch to them. I don't like the texture of them. It's not something that I can leave in. So I go ahead and strain them out. So I've got a strainer here just sitting in a bowl. I love the smell of this passion fruit. It smells delicious. It's really worth the trouble of making this, I'm telling you. Well, I've got a bowl here, and I just put my seeds and pulp that I've brought to a boil here and let cool, and added the lemon juice. And now I'm just going to put them in the strainer. And I'm going to take this, I call it a pouncer. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It could be a mortar. I'm not sure, you know, a pestle, more a pestle type situation here, if that's what you would like to call it. But I'm just going to work this around, and I'm trying to get the pulp that's around those seeds, as much of that pulp, which is basically the fruit of this passion fruit. It's like a pomegranate. It's full of seeds, and it just has a little membrane of pulp around the seeds, and that's the basic fruit. Some people use the outer layer as they boil it and take the peeling off. After you've boiled it for a while, the peeling will slide right off, and they use that center part like an apple. It's kind of like an apple. It makes a jam. But today I'm not doing that. I'm just getting the pulp around the seeds. That's the part I'll be using today. And I'm working this around. And just trying to get as much of that pulp as I can out of these passion fruit. Because I really like that pulp. I think it's delicious, and it smells so good. It's kind of like a banana, a fruity banana smell. Much more fruity, but I don't know, something about it puts me in the mind of a banana smell. I've got a little bucket here, and I'm just going to take the seeds out after I've worked out a lot of the pulp. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I get all of these seeds and this passion fruit pulp here worked out of this mixture. I'm going to take the time and enjoy the smell. It just smells delicious. And you can see what the juice is starting to look like. You can tell that there's some substance in there. Whoops. Now I'll have to strain that out. I got a little carried away in there. You know, you don't have to get every drop of the pulp out. You just get what you can strain. You know, get your seeds out and get what you can strain off there. Just keep working that pulp through there, and you should have the majority of just seeds left. You're looking to get the flavor and the pectin and the juice out of that membrane that's around the seed. And you just keep doing this until you get worked through all of your seeds. Now, once you get all of your seeds strained and you've got all of the pulp that you want out of those seeds, in your liquid, what I do is just go ahead and measure how much liquid I have. I've got this old Tupperware measuring cup that holds quite a few cups here. Let's see how many cups it is. It's 8 cups. So this is what I use. And I've strained I've got the seeds and the pulp from the passion flower out of this pot. I've strained it into this bowl. And now I'm going to strain it again into this measuring container because I need to measure how many cups of juice that I have. This step goes by pretty fast. And you can see why I strain it, because sometimes some of the seeds get through there. Now this is a lot of the pulp that's kind of thicker. And if you were making jam, you could just leave that in there, the pulp part. But I kind of strain it out when I'm making the jelly because, you know, you want it to be as clear as you can. Now I have 8 cups of liquid here. I'm going to try not to drop this. That's 8 cups. My hand is not level. And I'm going to go ahead and add this 8 cups of liquid to my pot. And I'm going to start and go ahead and turn that on 8, which is kind of medium high for me on my stove. And I'm going to do this again until I've used up and strained through all of my juice. Now you can strain through these seeds one more time and make a lightly flavored drink. You know, the native Cherokee natives would make a social drink out of this. They would strain through the seeds and add water and make a social drink out of it. I'm not sure if it was fermented or not, but sometimes a social drink was fermented. So, all right, now I've got 2 more cups. This is 2 more cups here. So I'm going to add that. So that'll give me 10 cups of juice. So when I add this 2 cups in with my 8 cups, that gives me 10 cups of juice. And I'll just take these pulp and seeds that's left that I've strained out of here, and I will feed those to the chickens. I'm going to bring this juice up to boil, to a hard boil, and then I'll add my sugar. Now, I get a lot of questions about pectin. Should I use pectin or should I not use pectin? Well, if you know my channel, when I make jellies, I always use a thermometer in the jelly. That lets me know what temperature my juice is getting up to, my juice and my sugar. And there's a gelling point there that's up under the soft space, it's up under the, see if I can show you on here. The softball, the thread stage. Now, if you were using this thermometer to make candy, this would be your guide. You know, if you wanted hard candy, soft candy, hard ball, firm ball, soft ball, or thread. We're coming in at 220. 220 is just under thread. It's in the thread category because your jelly, you don't want it to quite be thread, but you do want it to hit, 220 so that your jelly will be firm. That's why I use a thermometer. It lets me know how hot my juice is getting, so I'll know what stage my jelly is. Yes, I know how to do it without a thermometer, and I know how to cook this juice a long time to get it to a certain stage. But this guide lets me know right when it reaches there, and a thermometer, it's a good tool to have, and it lets me know what stage my jelly's getting into. That's why I always use a thermometer when I'm making jelly. And also, you'll see I have a deep enough pot with enough space when I put this sugar in here, and this starts to boil. It'll foam up a lot, and when that happens, it's going to rise up here. And I got a big enough, deep enough pot so that when my jelly rises up, it's not going to overflow. If you've ever had jelly or jam to overflow onto your stove, what a mess. And what a waste of all your time and energy and resources that you gathered and spent to put together to make your jam. It'll boil out all over the stove and be a terrible mess, so you don't want that to happen. So a deep pot, stainless steel pot with a heavy bottom, that's usually what I use. If you cook, you know what pots you can use what for. And this is a stainless steel pot. Plenty of room for this to rise. 10 cups of jelly. And my thermometer here that's going to give me the guide. Now I'm going to go ahead and measure out the sugar. Now for the sake of this video, I'll be using this other 8-cup measuring cup container because my other one's wet and I don't have time to wash and dry that while I'm filming this video. This is also an 8-cup measuring container. This is my bulk sugar here. It's a 5-gallon bucket. Not that we eat that much sugar. It's just I always have it on hand, especially this time of the year when I'm preserving. So I just want to fill this up, and I know when this container's full, I've got 8 cups, and I'll add 2 more cups, and that'll be 10 cups of sugar that'll go with my 10 cups of fruit juice. Now here you go. Here's 8 cups of sugar plus 2 cups of sugar. That's 10 cups of sugar that's going in this 10 cups of fruit juice. And that seems like an incredible amount of sugar. And yes, it is. That's a lot of sugar. That's a lot of sugar that we'll be adding to this fruit juice to make our jelly. But remember, jelly's a condiment. Jelly is not a side dish. You should eat no more than a teaspoon of jelly at a time for a healthy amount of sugar, if there is such a thing. Now I have the sugar in here, 10 cups of passion fruit juice, 10 cups of sugar, 6 tablespoons of lemon juice, and I'm going to see how this goes as to whether or not I add pectin. If it seems to be thickening up on a schedule, you know, as I'm cooking this and it reaches temperature, if it seems to get thick, then I will not add pectin. And a lot of people are, they wonder why I don't always add pectin. Pectin is natural in fruits, a lot of fruits, and that can vary. There are fruits that are high in pectin, like cranberries and, you know, there's other things that are high in pectin, and you never have to worry about them gelling because a natural fruit that's high in pectin will do that. But a lot of people add pectin anyway because it speeds up the process. You know, if you're cooking from scratch, you have to let this thing reach temperature and you have to let it cook until it stays and it sheets off of your spoon. And see, it's just pouring off the spoon right now, but when it gels, it might start off by dripping, and then it will start off, it'll be a stream that runs off of the spoon, and you'll know that it's thick enough. That's a test to see how, you know, what your jelly's doing. And if this fruit starts to gel without added pectin, then why add it? I mean, it's just an added ingredient. It's an ingredient that you have to buy if you use, you know, a jar or bought pectin. Now, I've shared the tip before, and I'll share it with you again. In the Appalachians, we would use a green apple. Green apples were high in pectin, and we would just, if we were using this as our pectin, I would just go ahead and peel this, slice this, and add it to my jelly. And that would be my natural pectin. But pectin is found naturally in fruit. I'm going to bring this to a boil. We'll see how it cooks up as to whether or not it needs pectin. I know when I made the peach peel jelly, a lot of people wondered why I didn't use pectin, because I go by the way the jelly starts to firm up. And if it seems to be firming okay, that means it has enough natural pectin in it. But if you feel safer adding the pectin and it kind of moves things along a little bit faster, then by all means add pectin. Follow the instructions on the container of pectin that you use and add that accordingly. But in general, if I don't need to, then I don't. Like I usually always add pectin to redbud jelly because it's a flower and it's not necessarily a fruit that's high in pectin. So if I make flour jellies, I do add pectin. But as a rule, I try not to add pectin unless I need it. I mean, you know, if it has enough own natural pectin, then that's certainly what I'll use. I've got a tip for you in between your making your jam when you're doing your cleanup. Make sure you always clean out your strainer. Don't ever let food dry on this strainer. Clean it, scrub it out and clean it. And get all the food out of it before it dries to keep you from having a mess later on. It's really hard to clean dried food out of a strainer. Okay, back to making our jelly. And I was saying if you want to add You know, if you want to run water over your seeds and get some additional juice out of that, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and probably add pectin to this. Because it would take a while for it to thicken up. And the pectin does make things go faster. So I just take out a little bit of the jelly and I go ahead and add my pectin to that. I'm going to add 6 tablespoons of pectin to this amount of jelly. Now this is a large batch of jelly, and I'm not so sure that you should start out making as much of a large batch. You can very easily cut this in portions and only make a small amount of jelly using maybe 4 to 6 cups of fruit juice. I go ahead and mix my pectin into a cup with some of the jelly in it, so that when you put it in, you don't have these big lumps of pectin in your jelly. And this is going to be boiling here for a little bit, so I'm just going to go ahead and I got it to a boil. I'm going to add this pectin to it that's mixed with this jelly. You stir that in really well. You want it to really get incorporated into that jelly really well. I've got the grandkids, as usual, playing in the background, so if you hear them in the background, you'll know that they're here. All right, now we've got our pectin added, and we have it come into a hard rolling boil, and it's a boil that can't be stirred down. Let's see, when I stir this is still boiling just as much. So I'm going to go ahead and set that for 1 minute. That's the recommendations on the pectin, that this boils at a hard boil for 1 minute. And I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of butter because there's foaming on top. And that butter will float on top and reduce the foam. I don't mind foam. My grandma used to say it's jelly too. But she had a lot to put up and a lot of kids to feed and a lot going on. And I think it is prettier if you don't have the foam on top. So the little bit of butter will reduce that. So we're going to let this boil for 1 minute. And you know you have to stir jelly because you've got a lot of sugar in there. And that sugar will scorch on the bottom. If you don't give it a stir. We've got our thermometer in here. And it's already been a minute for that pectin. That was a quick minute, wasn't it? But I'm going to check this thermometer and see what the temperature is. It's right here. You can see it. I'll try to get a view of it. I can't get the red line in. There it is. You can see it's right there. Right at the thread stage, right where we need it to be. Now if I didn't add the pectin, we would be in here boiling for a while to get this at the thread stage. But I went ahead and added the pectin, so we should be good to go ahead and cut this off and start filling up our jars. Alrighty, we got this beautiful stuff boiling at the right temperature. Seeing if I can get that thermometer for you. Can show you where it's boiling. Well, it's dropped down a little bit, but it was right up there at the right temperature. So we're going to get ready to go ahead and fill up our jars. Might not be able to lift these with one hand, so I'll have to put the camera down. Get these jars out. Absolutely beautiful. We're going to fill these jars up with our passion flower jelly. You know, jelly is such a fun project. It's such a fun thing to do. And we'll go ahead and fill up these small jars to within a half a inch of head space. You can see the natural color of this passion fruit with its 6 tablespoons of lemon juice, water, 6 tablespoons of pectin, equal amounts of sugar to juice, if you're wanting to get into canning, I suggest that you get into canning jelly first, because it's a beautiful, easy, very rewarding thing to can. And you can make jelly out of a lot of different things. Plus, it's such a treat. If you leave a seed, if you find a seed in there, don't worry. I don't mind putting a seed in there occasionally. It makes it look really organic. There's a lot of people that leave the seeds in and eat them because they want the crunch factor. But I don't leave the seeds in. I always take them out. I may leave one seed in, but that's it. This is a real treat. I only get to make this once a year when these passion flowers are coming into season. I love to give it as a gift. I think it's beautiful in its color. Now this would be much thicker going into the jars if I had let it boil down and let it boil until it got thicker, but I decided to use the pectin so it's not as thick as it could be. I'm going to have to get a few more jars. Now I've got it all in my jars here. There's a jar here, it's just got a tiny bit left in it. That'll be mine, that'll be the taster's. I'll put that in the refrigerator. I won't process it, and I'll be enjoying that. Now I'm going to wipe down these rims and go ahead and put the lids on. I'm going to go ahead and cap this little one off because that's my little amount that I'm going to put in the fridge and taste test it. I'll go ahead and wipe down these jars and put the lids on. You don't want anything sticky, anything causing your jar not to seal. I'm just going to do the first 7 jars because that's what my canner will hold. And I'm going to go ahead and process the first 7 jars. I'll process these in a boiling water bath for 10 minutes. I never put the lids on the ones that I don't seal. I'll set them in the oven and let them hold until I get ready to process them. That's why you don't want to do too big of a batch too. You'll have more than you can process. Anytime you let it sit, you're given time to introduce bacteria. So you want to have a manageable amount of jelly or anything that you're canning going on at a time. That's why small batches are recommended. Easier for you to keep up with, make sure you're keeping it all clean. Not giving time for bacteria to grow in your jar. I love the color, just love the color of this jelly. And it has a lot of really good healthy benefits for you. The passion fruit does. And there you go, after you've processed it for 10 minutes, that's the beautiful color of the passion fruit jelly. Isn't it beautiful? Thank you for joining me today, and like always, until next time.